Rappers are known for flashing their cash, and that's even when they're not as rich as they claim. So what kind of lifestyle does one of the biggest rappers of all time live? We're gonna show you by taking you inside the mansions owned by the one and only Eminem. Let's take a look at the way he lives today. Eminem is one of the people who helped popularize hip-hop for a larger audience, but he never sold out. He stayed loyal to his art form the whole way through and is still known as one of the greatest rappers of all time, even if he has been a little controversial over the years. And today, he has more than enough to show for all his hard work. He's one of the highest-selling artists of all time, with over 220 million records sold and 15 Grammy Awards to prove just how good each of those records really are. He also tried his hand at filmmaking and was impressively successful in that field too, earning an Oscar for his film 8 Mile. He has even gone on to cement his ability as one of the top record producers in the game. His career has lasted more than 25 years now, and he doesn't seem to be slowing down. So we have no idea how many more awards he'll earn. But the bigger question is, what's his net worth? Well, nobody knows for sure, but it looks like it's somewhere between $230 and $430 million as of 2023. You can buy a lot of mansions with that. But unlike his fellow music stars who love buying giant houses in the Hollywood Hills and New York penthouses, Eminem seems more interested in investing in his native Detroit. That's not such a surprise. It's no secret that he's not exactly like other celebrities. But it's also true that he partly enjoys living there because it allows him to fly under the radar a little. See, if you're living in cities populated with famous people, it's pretty hard to avoid the paparazzi. They're pretty much everywhere, which is sometimes exactly why stars make sure to buy houses in places like Hollywood. It's also because they love throwing big parties with other famous people. But Eminem is pretty secretive. He doesn't want the paparazzi lurking around every corner trying to get a picture. He's even been known to rent out countryside houses when he's performing in London, which is pretty unusual with all the flashy hotels and bars who offer him a place to host the party of a lifetime. It seems he just wants a little peace and quiet. That also means it's not so easy to get a peek inside his home. But it is possible. His two big property purchases were located in Detroit. Fans will know that he was actually born in Missouri in 1972, but it was Detroit, Michigan that influenced his art. And he's chosen to stay there, even though he's rich and famous now, although he has moved into much more upper-class neighborhoods than the one he grew up in. Another thing that makes Eminem different from other famous people is he doesn't seem so interested in buying loads of houses. While a lot of music stars and actors own private islands, several mansions, more than one penthouse in multiple cities, plus a few European holiday pads, Eminem has only owned 2 properties that we know of since he got famous. The 2 mansions were both located in Detroit, but he sold one. Don't worry though, we can still take you inside it before we take a closer look at the mansion he actually lives in now. In fact, it became even easier to take a look at the house when it hit the market. The mansion was located in the super upmarket neighborhood of Rochester Hills. That's considered one of the safest areas to live in the whole of the US, which must have been a big change for the rapper who grew up in pretty dangerous areas with his single mom. This mansion was more of a getaway home for Eminem, and he never really lived in it in a permanent way. He purchased it in 2003 for a whopping $4.8 million. Unfortunately, that was before the housing market crashed in 2008. The house definitely didn't sell for that much after Eminem put it up for sale around 2017. In the end, it sold for just $1.9 million. So the rapper made a significant loss on the impressive 250,000 square foot property. Even the outside of the mansion is seriously impressive. One of the selling features is a guardhouse at the main entrance, which is perfect for a star looking to maintain their privacy like Eminem. He can have round-the-clock security guards in there, making sure nobody gets onto the property without permission. And it's worth protecting the property because it's pretty spectacular. With almost 6 acres of land to play with, it's full of features before you even get inside. The garage is gigantic at almost 4,000 square feet, which is more than enough space for a star of Eminem's caliber to store as many luxury cars as they want. There's also a giant private pond, a pergola, and a tennis court, which Eminem converted to also function as a basketball court. And that's before we even mention the swimming area. The space is the perfect example of outdoor luxury and comes equipped with a spa, a clubhouse, and a pool house overlooking the sparkling blue water. And the swimming pool alone costs tens of thousands of dollars. You can see where all that money went though. The unusual shape of the pool is pretty captivating. Plus, it has its own twisting slide and a scenic waterfall that connects the pool to the hot tub. It doesn't get much better than that. Around the other side of the house, you'll also find a full guest house, in case you have someone over that would prefer to stay in their own space. And yes, it's probably better than most ordinary houses, even though it's not attached to the main mansion. It comes with its own private game room. What more could you want? The main house is big enough to house generations of family though, at 17,500 square feet. Even the entrance is pretty captivating. Walk up the sweeping steps to the front door and you'll be greeted by a bespoke wooden entrance hall that costs thousands of dollars to design and install. The mansion has 6 bedrooms and 7 full bathrooms, and another 3 half bathrooms. In fact, that was one of the biggest selling points of this house. Every one of the 6 bedrooms is a full suite with its own private full bathroom. That's pretty impressive. Another main feature in the house is the deep, rose-colored paneling made from rare wood. That's particularly obvious in the main room, where the wood even stretches to impressive ceiling details and a sweeping custom bar. It's a seriously impressive space that would almost look like it comes from another time if you ignored the huge flat-screen TV. The intricate metal details on the huge fireplace only makes the room look even more expensive. This 1,500 square foot room was described in the property listings as an entertainment room. Wouldn't we all love one of those? The impressive kitchen is another main selling point in this house. One way to know for sure that a kitchen is fancy is if it has a kitchen island. But this house takes that a step further, with 2 kitchen islands. One is for extra cooking space, while the other serves as a bar-style seating area. There are also 2 oversized fridges, plus a huge wine fridge. The warm wood found around the house creeps into the kitchen in the flooring, while the cupboards are white with a dark marble countertop. The rounded windows seen in the entertainment room feature in the kitchen too, letting loads of natural light in. But remember, this is just the main kitchen. There's what's known as a butler's pantry hidden in the house too. Remember we mentioned the 6 bedrooms? Well, each one had its own theme. Other mind-blowing features in the house include a 3-story elevator and state-of-the-art tech, from the lighting to the sound systems. I guess it's not a surprise that someone who dedicated their life to music would be interested in a great audio system in his home. By the way, his home is often called the Kmart Mansion. That's because it was previously owned by Charles Conway, who was Kmart's chairman and chief executive at the time that he owned the property. It's partly his fault that people sometimes talk about the property as being cursed. He was in charge of Kmart as it started to go downhill, and he was ordered to repay $5.5 million for lying to investors while he was living in this house. The owner before Conway was a toolmaker who was also sent to prison for tax fraud and racketeering. Do we think it's cursed? Not really. But then again, Let's not forget that Eminem also lost $2 million on this house, so who knows? But that's enough about the house he doesn't live in anymore. You're probably wondering about his main residence. To find that home, we need to go over to Clinton Township, more specifically, Westchester Drive. The home, which he bought around the same time as the other mansion we just looked at, was first built in 1996. Eminem bought it back when he was still married to Kimberly Scott, his now ex-wife. The 8,900 square foot house is the place where Eminem reportedly still lives permanently, and where his 3 adult daughters sometimes live. His biological daughter, Haley, owns her own impressive 4-bedroom house not too far away from her dad. But there's no telling if she bought that house for herself or if her famous dad bought it for her. Either way, she's probably not spending too much time in her dad's mansion these days. Eminem bought this mansion for just over $1,483,000, which is more modest than the other mansion, but still a huge sum of money, especially back in the early 2000s. The mansion features exposed brick on the outside and a huge driveway leading up to the house, featuring a classic fountain feature in the middle of the drive. Despite how subtle the fountain is, it cost a few $1,000s. The house itself is just as eye-catching as the fountain, particularly because of its multiple layers of pointed roofs which add depth to the property. You can bet it's also full of retro arcade games. Eminem reportedly loves them and has spent around $16,000 acquiring things like pinball machines. It's said he also owns at least one Donkey Kong game and a Space Invaders machine. He also loves vintage comic books, and we can only hope that he stores these all in one room like something out of a childhood fantasy. But the comic book collections are no joke. Vintage comics in good condition, like the ones Eminem collects, are sometimes worth as much as $1 million. Now, he also loves collecting watches. It's no secret that wealthy people love spending money on watches. In some ways, they're a better investment than property or art, because the watch market doesn't go through so many ups and downs. Eminem has been spotted wearing more than one Rolex and a few G-Shock watches. He also owns a gold Audemars Piguet Royal Oak piece, which proves just how much Eminem is really investing in watches, because this one sells for a whopping $40 grand. The Rolex Datejust that he tends to wear for photo shoots is also worth tens of thousands. And he houses all these luxuries in his Detroit mansion. Despite the slightly lower price tag than his other mansion, it's been suggested that if this house were located in LA with all Eminem's other celebrity friends, it would probably be worth about $10 million. So you could say it was a bargain. What's inside? Well, we should mention that there's a lot of speculation about the interior of the house. Not a lot of people have been inside, and the media haven't succeeded in sneaking a camera in there to take pictures. We only got lucky with the last house because Eminem sold the property. It was the real estate agents that put photos online to help them sell the house. He's still living in this one, so we don't have the same kind of access all areas photos, which is a shame because we bet it's pretty spectacular. But anyway, here's what we have found out about what features are apparently hidden inside the beautiful house.
With over 20 years in the entertainment business and hundreds of millions of records sold, Eminem is an undeniable industry powerhouse, and his bank balance agrees. Despite edging toward a net worth of $250 million, Marshall Mathers doesn't splurge like your average A-lister. He hasn't pampered himself with private islands or forked out for exclusive Manhattan penthouses. Slim prefers to keep it simple and stay true to his hometown Detroit, where he lives a little more under the radar. How did the rapper make all his money? How does he spend it? And what's life like inside the Eminem house? household? Let's find out. The majority of famous faces, be them movie stars, pop stars, or entertainment personalities, typically make the move over to Los Angeles and buy themselves a snazzy mansion up in the Hollywood Hills. Well, Eminem isn't like most celebrities, and if you're familiar with his ever-divisive music and intriguing topsy-turvy backstory, then you'll know exactly what we mean. Though he was born in St. Joseph, Missouri in 1972, Eminem spent most of his childhood growing up in Michigan. Yep, we all know it, Detroit. This is where he got his big break in the rap world. This is where the inspiration comes from for countless record-breaking songs. And this is where M's chosen to buy his properties and put down roots, even through adulthood and fame. The multiple award-winning artist has owned 2 sizable pads in the Motor City over the last couple of decades. What do you say? Shall we take an exclusive look? It's not every day you get to experience the inner sanctum of a celebrity. Eminem's most extravagant property sits over in the upper-class suburb of Rochester Hills. Rochester Hills is considered one of the safest cities in the state, a stark contrast from his youth where he and his mother hopped around areas often riddled with violence. The compound is heavily secure and therefore perfect for someone with such a high level of notoriety. Sprawling 17,500 square feet, Eminem's home on Winkler offers up a list of features extravagant enough to make anyone jealous. The home includes 6 bedrooms and 9.5 bathrooms, and each bedroom is a suite fit for a king. Don't believe us? Just take a look for yourself. Even the multi-$1,000 entranceway with its wooden design is spectacular. As we move from inside to the outside, the experience gets even better. This stunning swimming pool, worth tens of thousands of dollars alone, is equipped with a twisting slide and a flowing waterfall. Plus, there's a spa, tennis and basketball court, cabana, and a private pond. Notably, the home has a dedicated spot for security, listing a so-called guardhouse as an extra selling point. On top of that, there's a nearly 4,000 square foot garage perfect for storing all of his lavish supercars. But we'll get to those a little later. The huge property is also known as the Kmart Mansion, not because it's furnished with Kmart goodies, but because its former owner was Charles Conaway, the company's former chairman. Oh, and did we forget to mention that there's an entire guest house on the property with its own game room as well? Sitting on land that spans 5.69 manicured acres or almost 250,000 square feet, there was plenty more room to play with if Eminem wanted to add a few extra finishing touches. Unfortunately, he no longer has that chance. He signed on the dotted line back in 2003 for $4.8 million, around $5.6 million by today's standards, and held onto it for the better part of 15 years. But in August of 2017, he listed the house for sale with a price of just under $2 million. Why he slashed the asking price by such a significant margin is still uncertain. Around the same time that M went out and purchased the Rochester Hills pad, he acquired another Detroit mansion. The home at 19766 Westchester Drive was built in 1996 and boasts over 8,900 square feet of space, and it became Marshall's for a hefty fee of $1,483,500. Visitors approach the mostly brick mansion via a large driveway and are met with a subtle yet eye-catching few $1,000 fountain upon arrival. At the time of its purchase, he was still married to his now ex-wife, Kimberly Scott. Sure, $1.5 million is expensive for the area, but these kinds of properties in places like LA or New York could easily be worth 10 times as much. Even though the rapper owned the nearby Rochester Hills home, which was larger, he tended to spend the majority of his time here. As of February of 2019, Zillow estimated the value of Eminem's Clinton Township home at just under $1.8 million. It's certainly a step up from the comparatively cramped spaces in which he spent his earlier years. If you're a fan of Eminem, then you've surely seen the 8 Mile movie. Did you know that it's named after 8 Mile Road, near which the budding young lyricist grew up? South of 8 Mile Road, at 19946 Dresden Street in the suburb of Greenbrier, you'll find Slim Shady's childhood home. Compared to the colossal mansions that we've already seen, this small, wooden, 767 square foot single-family home isn't much to gloat about. Public records show that Eminem's mother purchased the house for $19,900 in 1987, and it wasn't worth more than $30,000 or $40,000 by the mid-2010s. While Eminem doesn't own it, and hasn't lived within its walls for years, it remains a significant piece of his history, and is also considered a significant piece of Eminem memorabilia. The divisive rapper has clearly managed to turn it around since his time on Dresden Street. These days, his trophy room alone, jam-packed with Grammys, MTV Awards, and even an Oscar, would rival his entire childhood home in terms of size. It wasn't just hard for Eminem in the early days, it was hard for his family.
But there's another person out there who's also living the dream. The winner of the biggest lottery jackpot of all time. But what mansion did he buy with his $2.4 billion jackpot? And is it better than Eminem's house is? Find out for yourself by going on our tour of his mansion.